Hi, welcome to Bridging the Gap. Today, we have someone really exciting that we're about to talk to. Today, we're going to be talking to a fashion designer that is specifically known for bringing African sustainable fashion on a global stage. He's known for his very classic styles and very unique designs because he uses a specific textile known as Akwete. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Emmy Kasbit. Hi, Emmy. Welcome to Bridging the Gap.
Thank you. Hi, Teju. How are you?
I'm great. I'm pretty excited to be talking to you today.
Wow.
It's such a pleasure to have you on our platform today. Feel free to share as much as possible. Today we're going to be talking to you about the Emmy Kasbit story. We're going to be talking about maybe some of the challenges that you might have faced and some of the successes that you've experienced so far. Because obviously we have so much more to expect from Emmy Kasbit, right? So we'll just talk about it and see how we can, navigate. Yeah?
Okay.
All right, cool. So obviously I know who Emmy Kasbit is, and the fashion gurus, people that are aware, that know about fashion, know who Emmy Kasbit is. But for the benefit of people that are novice or people that are just new to the fashion scene or are just passionate about fashion, I want to know, who is this Emmy Kasbit person? Do you mind just shedding some light on who Emmy Kasbit is and more about the brand? Like what is the brand Emmy Kasbit?
That's a very long story. I hope we have enough time.
Just give us the short form.
My name is Emmy Okoro, and I'm the founder and creative director for Emmy Kasbit. And Kasbit is a sustainable brand, as we all know. It was founded in 2014, January 20th. So countdown to our 10th year.
That's amazing.
Like a month and a few days away. Yeah. Founded in 2014 January 2014 when I was still living in Calabar.
Oh, nice.
And I was in school, University of Calabar, and just like, one of those boys in school who hustle to like make shirts and cool stuff for people, just to make extra cash for school. And then I started like working with like denims, and I didn't have any fashion background then. It was just me trying to also my way out of school. And then, things were going well. And when I was done with school, I wanted to continue this career. So I was just, at that point where I didn't know what I wanted to do. Should I maybe get a proper job, or should I continue this fashion business? But then I had a few people I had spoken to, because when I'm confused, one thing I do is I try to speak to people who I know share the same values as me. And
good
then
counsel is critical.
Few of them. Yeah, and I remember one person I spoke with was Sharon Ojon. She said, Emmy, I think you're good at this and I think you should pursue it. And I was like, okay. And then I spoke to other people. But when, I found myself going back to what she said. I was like, okay, is this a sign that I should be a designer? So one day I was sitting in a cafe with my friend George. I still remember these names because even though it's been 10 years I left them, but these are like the people, these were like the foundation. So George was a graphic designer, and he said, Emmy, if you have to do it, let's just start with the first thing, get a logo done. And then right there in that cafe, he
made your logo?
He made my very first logo.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I'm still in contact with him.
That's
even
amazing.
Though now we've kind of like revamped the Emmy Kasbit logo. But that very first one that was created there, it's like the DNA. And then he did it, and I posted it on Instagram just randomly. And then I was like, tell a friend to tell a friend. There's a new brand here or something. I can't remember, but that was how it happened. And then people were like, oh my God, yes, finally you decided to take this step. But to cut the long story short, I did that. And when I finally graduated from school,
what did you study?
Computer science.
Nice. That's interesting.
So you can see. So I studied computer science, and then all I did was, after school, I wanted more knowledge because I didn't know like the basics, Then all I knew was, buy fabric and just give someone to. But I needed more knowledge. So I worked in a production house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I went to work in a production house where I learned like the pattern making, just the basic, just foundation. To also, yeah. And after doing that, I wanted more. So I went ahead this was years down the line. I went ahead to obtain a degree from University of Arts London, where
Oh,
I
nice.
studied sustainable fashion design. So that
Lovely.
gave birth to the sustainable brand Emmy Kasbit.
Fashion.
But then after I had finished, I was still living in Calabar, so
Okay.
it wasn't like the hub for me. So things were a bit slow. You know, I met a few friends who were in Lagos, and I started asking them how the market was in Lagos because I wanted to move to a bigger city. Of course, I was done with Calabar because I was done with school, so I needed like a new environment. So, you know, I think I found a way to come to Lagos for the first ever AMBCA, and that's where I met Ezine Zinkata.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I met her.
But you said, can you tell, for the sake of the people that don't know what that is, what
So
is it?
yeah, after I met Ezine, my friends, she owns a retail store, Zinkata, one of Emmy Kasbit retail partners, and she's been very instrumental to the growth and success of the Emmy Kasbit brand, as we all know today. So I met her there, and then I met her, and she said she liked what I wore, and then she was like, "Oh my God, where did you get this from?" And I was like, "Oh, it's mine. I made it." Like, "Are you serious? Where do you live?" I said, "I live in Calabar." She said, "Oh, can you come to my store tomorrow?" I said, "Yes, I will come." And then Uti was there. Uti also, the public figure, Uti. Uti was there wearing what I had made for him, because then why I was even at the AMBC was because I kind of begged him to design something for him so I can, be at the event. And he was like, "Okay, sure." So he gave me a chance.
Nice.
So, and I also had to prove myself that I wanted him to wear it. So I made this, I think it was a burgundy suit or whatever. I can't remember. But then he wore it. And isn't it also liked what he wore? When Uti was like, "Oh, he made what I'm wearing." And she was like, "Oh my God, I used to," and plus this. Okay, so you know what? Tomorrow come to my store. And that's it. The next day, packed my collection, whatever it was. And it was actually my very first collection. It was like a 14 look collection.
Wow.
So I took it to Ezine's store, and I remember she fell in love with this yellow. There's this suit. It was almost like a skirt pants design. I call it the scouser because it had like a skirt pattern in front and it had pants inside. So Ezine said, "Oh, she really liked that one, so she wanted to wear it, like I think the weekend for something." I was like, "Sure." And that's it. She wore it, and people were just going crazy about it. And then Ezine, back then, she used to do like this blog post. I think it was called, I can't remember anymore because it's been long. But she now did a blog post on the suit and credited me and how she met me, and that's how people started requesting. So when I went back to Calabar and looking at all that happened, I was like, this is a sign. Maybe I need to move to Lagos. So I made that decision to come, even though it wasn't easy. Because I had no friends in Lagos, so it was just me.
That was a fresh start.
It was a fresh start. So I spoke to a few of my friends. They were like, "I think you should go, guy. Go and do it. Maybe this is your calling. Go and do it." Yeah. Because then also, I think, in the midst of finishing school and doing all these, I lost my mom.
Oh,
yeah, and I actually lost my mom when I was actually designing the very first piece for her, because then my elder brother got married, in the midst. And then my mom, we had bought this dress for her, but I could remember the morning of the wedding, it couldn't zip up. So, and then there was this jacket I had made for my cousin but she hadn't picked it up. So my mom was like, "Oh, what do I do?" I was like, "Oh, I have this jacket. You can try it on." I made it. She was like, "Okay." I gave it to her. She really liked it. So after that day, I said, okay, I was going to make one for her since she liked this one, or maybe make another one for my cousin, whatever. So, but then whilst making the piece, the collection, the jacket, she died. And then, I remember picking up my phone. I just called the tailor that was making it, because then I was outsourcing the production. I was just like, "You know what? That jacket I asked you to make, don't make it anymore. Person doesn't need it again." He was like, "How?" Because I didn't want to tell him.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, I just said, "Oh, it was for my mom, but she died last night."
Wow.
He screamed. I was just like,
sorry.
yeah. So then it was the first start. I had to go, and I found myself in Lagos because I met a friend of mine who accommodated me for like maybe 2 weeks. And then I went back again home. Now I didn't go to Calabar. I went to Abia State. That's where my family house is, in Aba.
Okay.
Then I went there, luckily for me, my elder brother now moved to Lagos. I think he got a job. They promoted him and he had to move to Lagos. So that's how I was like, okay, so I'm coming back. Yeah. So I came back and that was my first home in Lagos. And fast forward to today, I feel like everything just happened for a reason, you know. I had to come to Lagos, but then Lagos accepted me because when I was coming, I was just asking myself a few questions like, what am I going to do? I don't even know where the market is.
Right.
How do I had no friends here. So even the people I asked, like, how do you guys come about this? They were like, I don't know. But I had a designer friend, Jason Posh. So we moved together and we were just trying to like find our base, you know. And we were in like separate parts of Lagos. I think he was somewhere in the island, but I was on the mainland. So I didn't know anywhere to go. So it was just a long story, but you know how people come and, you know, you wake up, you don't even know who's going to call you. You don't have any clients to meet.
Yeah.
You just kept hoping that, you know, one thing will happen. And also what I did was the network I had really worked for me because from Ezine, I think all these things started happening because Ezine kind of came into my life and she's been very instrumental to the growth of the brand.
Amazing.
Because from then she gave me a chance. I had no idea about, you know, having a stockist or having a store where you, because initially, you know, the pieces you send to the store, that had the size guide, the fit is not right because there's no knowledge of, you know, but she kept, you know, convincing these customers that don't worry, he will get better. And, you know, even till today, last week, a customer came to the store. She was like, oh, I remember when I bought one of your old pieces like years ago from Zinkata. I was like, oh, what happened? She was like, oh, that she never wore it, you know, because it just wasn't right. But Ezine told her, don't worry, to get better, get better. And then she said now she has a full wardrobe because she waited for years. And when she saw, you know, I feel like that, when she said that, I just remembered, you know, Ezine too, because this was all her. So, I mean, today is not about Ezine, but it's also good to kind of like
to acknowledge the people who
you know,
who
were there for
easy.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like a reoccurring pattern in your life is you have just had like solid friendships. That's just the truth, because it's unusual for you to have a friend who says, you know what, Emmy, we're going to sit down. Let me do this logo now. You know, so friends that are actually determined for you to make it. And clearly it must say a lot about you too. You must be a really good friend for them to be like, you know, we're going to do this thing for you. We're going to, you know, see to it that you're successful. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I think my support system over the years have been very, you know, has been the best.
Amazing.
Yeah, even from family, my family, even though, you know, the kind of family I come from, they're not the ones who will give you, 20 million, go and sponsor, go and invest in this business. But whenever I call them to they say, oh, this is what I want to do, be it in advice or in every way possible, they would come through for me. So I think they were all there, even though we, you know, like I was saying earlier, my mom died, and then 2 years later, or maybe a year later, my dad died as well. So all these things were happening in between me trying to kind of build this brand. But I kept going because I know if my mom was alive, she would go to the ends of the earth to see that, you know, to support me. So I feel like with everything that happened, it's just, you know, her prayers that she was praying for me. This is all they're doing. But my dad was, you know, a strong man, and I feel like he shaped me to the man I've become today, because most of the collections I release every year kind of has, you know, been inspired by him, because I look at things he would do when he was alive, and either be like old pictures of him I find, and all those things keep inspiring me every season. And
that's amazing. So when you started the initial collection, like I know now the clothing that you make is unisex, so you make for both female and male, you know, make for everybody. But the initial collection, did you start off with just men, or?
So my very first collection was also in Calabar. I shot it there, and it was male and female, but the focus was on menswear.
Okay.
Because that was my strong point then.
Okay.
It was my strong point then. I had no knowledge of women's wear apart from just making like pants and maybe structured jackets.
Okay.
Yeah, which is, for menswear, because you can pick a men's blazer and give it to a lady and it still looks structured on her. So that was how we started. So the inspiration was just for menswear, but then women's wear happened. But over the years, I was drawn to women's wear as well, because I felt like menswear was kind of like not allowing me to express myself totally. So I wanted to try out different things with women's wear. And with women's wear, all I was seeing around me were like, slit dresses, voluminous corset dresses. But I wanted something that, a woman would wear and feel different from the regular.
The norm,
So then I decided to start the women's wear, but with taking elements from menswear. So that's how today we have the shirt dresses with the wrap. We also have the tuxedos with the wrap. So everything is always, when creating women's wear, I look at menswear and take elements from menswear, put it in women's wear. So it
inspires you to.
So you can call it androgynous wear for women, whatever it is. But it's women's wear by Emmy Kasbit.
Amazing. And they're beautiful pieces, just like this beautiful skirt that I'm wearing today.
Thank you.
Yeah. So earlier you had mentioned that a lot of your inspiration for your collections have come from your dad, like things, maybe photographs that you've seen of him in the past, or, just memories that you might have shared with him. What other things inspire you?
I mean, as a designer, I see myself as a storyteller. That's first, because I tell stories about culture and preservation of culture. Also, speaking of my dad, he was a strong traditional man and he stood for everything culture. So when it comes to his kinsmen, he was like a leader. When they are having like the village meeting, he's always in the lead. So he had like a big position and he had like all the different kind of like fabrics you see today. So I also looked up to him a lot because he would tell me, oh, these are the things you should do tomorrow and people would respect you. You have to be a strong man. You have to, let people know that whenever they come into the village and ask of you. So even if a young boy should be able to know, oh, this is where he is or this is his compound and that's who he aspired to be. So I look at that for inspiration. Also, I'm also inspired by travel because I travel a lot. I'm always in between Lagos, London, or Paris. So when I travel, I look at other things and try to reimagine them. But the first base for every collection is the culture because we want to reinterpret the old in a modern way. So that's where the fabric comes in, the Akwete. So each season, our women, our artisans weave the fabrics. Then we come up with a story for the season. And maybe we choose like the motif that's going on the textile for the season. And then you create the base for the collection. And then you now make up the story by adding whatever it is. As it comes, it takes like 6 months to build a collection. So when I'm confused, I just sleep on it and then maybe go away. And I'll always come back to it. So I'm heavily inspired by culture and also nature. So I look at things around me and try to imagine them, just put myself maybe in a stand somewhere I don't know. And then there it goes.
That's amazing. So it's interesting how you talk about leadership and how your dad was a leader in the cultural sense and how now you are a leader in the fashion industry, based on some of the designs and, just the sustainable aspect of things and how you're actually using Akwete, like you said in particular. Can you tell us the story of how you found out about Akwete? Because this is different from the regular woven cotton, woven fabric. So
with Akwete, the story goes way back, in 2017. So this is another side of the story to Emmy Kasbit. So when I moved to Lagos, on that first trip, I couldn't meet up with Lagos Fashion Week because I think it was in October. I didn't know about the calendar. But then I got, there was social media. I was looking at things, looking at what people in Lagos are doing. So I was in Calabar, but I was seeing myself as a Lagos boy. So I was knowing like dates where things are happening and I would try to make myself available for that date. So I heard about Lagos Fashion Week and I said I was going to come. So I attended, but I think it was the year where we had, designers like Mark Mecca back then. He won. So whilst I was watching that show, I was just picturing myself on that stage showing.
Amazing.
It was almost like I wanted to be there, but of course, no one knew me. So I was just like, okay, no problem. I'm gonna, go back and do my thing. And then I left. So then the following year, there was the Young Designers platform called MTN Young Designers Award. And then I applied for it, but I didn't get in. So, and I hate rejection. So when I didn't get in, I was feeling low and I was just like, oh, I'm never going to apply again. And when people reject you and they don't give you like, an answer to why you were rejected. I tried to, and then I look at the people that got in, I was like, okay, these people are way better than me, but how can I get better? And then I didn't want to apply again. I actually did not apply the following year. But then 2 years later, a friend of mine said, I think you should try again. I was like, those people will not pick me. And I said, yeah, so I did that and I tried, I got in. And then I was assigned, I was picked, and then I was assigned to Makio to mentor me. And of course, everyone knew Makio. Everyone today knows Makio and who she is and what she does. So I said, this one, they gave me this lady. Okay. And then I spoke to her. But prior to, that, I had seen her a couple of places and I introduced myself to her. And then she said, oh, I like your stuff. Well, okay, let's go on a call. And then I got on a call with Amaka and she said, what do you think sets you apart from these other brands, other brands that were also chosen? But I couldn't answer. She said, okay, you know what, think about it and come back to me. But then we met again and, the mentorship session started and she really, instilled some knowledge in me on how to go about the competition and what I have to do. But then when it was down to the shortlist, I think we were now going to be shortlisted to 10. We were about 20. And then I made the 10, the cut, and then down to 5. From 10, we were shortlisted to 5. And then it was me, I remember me, Imade Duso, Moagusto, Murafa, and there was Samuel Noon. Yeah, I still remember. And then, so a friend of mine, also Onyinye, she said, Emmy, for you to actually come on top, you have to do something that hasn't been done because this your set is tough. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know. And then she said, I don't know, but you just have to find something sustainable. So, and I said, okay. Then she said, maybe you should look into Akwete. There's a fabric called Akwete. And maybe you should look into it. And when she said it, I was like, okay. So I went back home that night and then I started researching. I was like, what is this Akwete? What is that? Because I know the other candidates were also doing things that, would win them the prize.
Yeah.
I needed that money. It was, it was 5 million. I said, okay, I'm going to do something. So I then found like a contact on Google whilst researching. I tried to call, but the number didn't go through. The next day I sent a message. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go. So I went home to the east and I spoke to my brother about it. He was like, this place, I think is like on your way to Port Harcourt. I asked questions because I didn't know. But then whilst I was at home, I found another number. I called and the man picked up. But he said, okay, you should come and see me here. So, and then the next year I went there. I went there alone for the first time. But I got there, so he wasn't like the artisan.
Okay.
Because I didn't know that. It was just a connect. And of course, me coming from where I'm coming from, I know that this is not the person doing the fabric. But he had showed me samples and he was a third party. I needed to see the real, So he was like, oh, anything I want, he can do for me. And then I started asking about pricing. He started giving me like, I was like, So I went back. I was just like, wow, I've wasted my day. But I went back again and found that, no. So I came back to Lagos. And then I spoke to my friend Jason. Yeah, the one I said we moved to. Jason said, oh, Emmy, I think I know that's my village.
Whoa.
Said I used to
what are the odds?
Yeah. Jason said, that's my village. I said, I used to say, yeah, that's my village. Okay, so do you know? He said, yeah, my auntie does it. My auntie's son, his wife does it. I said, "Are you
Wow.
serious? So can I get a number?" So he gave me his auntie's number. I now called, spoke to the son. He said, "Okay, I should come." So I went there, found, when I got there, I still found my way, but I didn't know the
Yeah.
actual compound. So, with directions and everything, I found these people
Wow.
and I found this small community, but everyone had already packed up.
Wow.
Packed up their looms because, the craft was dying and people were not
Can
coming.
you
So it
just
was just like,
imagine?
when I went there, I just saw all of them, they were like, in their words, because I could hear what they were saying because I'm
Yeah.
from Abia State. And then some of them were like, this one after now it go run because they
Yeah,
not
like
gonna
that's
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, no, I wanted to do it. So and then I spoke to the lady who was the actual weaver, and then she explained everything to me. I was like, okay. And I showed her like the plans, the collection I had in mind, like the design. Oh, she said she can do it. I was like, okay, no problem. Let's do it. Let's try it. So when the first samples came out and it got to Lagos and I saw it, I screamed. I was like,
It was
wow.
what you wanted?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I was like, okay, so let's go ahead and produce this. And then the competition was almost coming to, it's sustainable. It was just hard. But the good thing was I started on time.
Yeah. So you had enough.
So this woman single-handedly designed the full textile for that collection. And then, at Lagos Fashion Week, I presented it and I won the competition.
Hey.
So, and then I was like, okay, so maybe this is the sign that I need to pursue this. So I went back to her. I was like, what can we do?
Right.
I want to do this. She was like, are you sure it's not easy? I was like, yeah, I know it's not easy, but so I now started researching on Akwete, and at that point, that was when I enrolled for the University of Arts to study sustainable textile. Yeah, and now started researching on other textile, but I wanted this one because I was from Abia State. He was from Abia State, and I wanted to promote something from my culture. And the whole mission for Emmy Kasbit today is, taking this craft from a small village to the center stage and to the global market, which is what we're doing today. So we want to showcase the craft of these women because it's been there for over 100 years. We know that. And, Akwete is said to have over 100 motifs and we've not even done up to 50. So
how wild is that?
Yeah. So
that is impressive on so many different levels because first of all, you revived the dying market. These people have already given up. They've already packed up. But at this point, it led to job creation. So you're able to actually provide jobs for these women. And not only that, it just says that there's still so much more to expect from Emmy Kasbit.
So much more, I know, but it's not a day's job. Because looking at the past 9 years, it's been 9 years of sleepless nights, struggles from when we were coming to days where we didn't have like even a production space. 6 months ago, we've launched the Emmy Kasbit Atelier, which is our first space and our first working. Before all we had was, just it was like a 2-bedroom in a jar
workshop
where we were just producing, and we couldn't invite people there because it wasn't up to the standard. So all we had was also, like I was saying, Zinkata. Because that's where people could only say, oh, I got your stuff from Zinkata because it's where we produce and send to. So that was it. And today we have the Emmy Kasbit Atelier. We're heading to 10 years, but there's still so much more to be done because these women, I feel like there's more we can do. That's why we've set up the Emmy Kasbit initiative now. Because also I realized that yes, we've been taking this craft. What's next? How do we give back to the community? And for Emmy Kasbit, women are at the forefront of whatever we do. We want to give back to the society, to this community in focus. So the initiative tends to, eradicate poverty, enhance liberty, and educate on culture. So we tend to provide summer classes for young girls who would go to these women and learn the craft and in turn come back to work with us.
Wow.
If they want to. Because, these days, the young girls want to move to the city. They're like, oh, I'm moving to Lagos. I see them when I go to visit. But then there's an opportunity for them to actually work and learn this craft. And also, these women will also have time because the rule, the saying about Akwete is that it's only handwoven by women. So the husbands cannot touch the loom because it's a taboo and you have to respect that. So they now
That's interesting.
the husbands do the farming, whilst the women
Wow.
women make the money. So imagine it's a community where the women are now the breadwinners of the family. So we
Wow.
intend to create like a massive hub where you just have hundreds of women weaving, and also making money for themselves, because it's not easy. Just like the skirt you're wearing, for this particular one, it might take like a week or 2 weeks,
Wow.
depending on how
The
fast
quantity.
the artisan is to bring out one sheet, not just 10, not 5. Whereas you have like fast fashion where designers can just give a factory an order for a print, and in 2 hours they have like 20 yards. So
Yeah.
it's slow fashion, but it's also the culture. So we want to preserve this and also let people know that this is African looks.
That's amazing. I mean, but that is just very well said in terms of preserving culture, creating job opportunities, the initiative that you've been able to come up with, and also teaching the history. It's almost like you're teaching the history of
Yeah.
our culture and fashion in these,
Exactly.
in the students.
Because one thing happened recently, at the Lagos Fashion Week show, because it was back and forth. I was backstage, I was doing but at some point I came out, and then I just saw over 10 women in their skirt. Not that the skirts are the only thing we have for women to wear, but seeing all these women walk into the hall when Emmy Kasbit, I was like, wow.
You're proud of yourself.
Yeah, even people I didn't know, but I just saw that. I was like, oh, that's an Emmy Kasbit. But, you would always know an Emmy Kasbit piece once it's, and then you also saw the men coming in. Even whilst coming out backstage, and then you walk into the hall and you see half the crowd in Emmy Kasbit. It's a thing of joy that people are beginning to embrace this. And that also gives me joy to see these women working this hard to dress all these people, because they are the DNA. Without them, what am I going
Right.
what am I going
There's
to
no
do?
business, right?
So yeah, they are the engine room, and the chain moves from them to the atelier, the staff, to me, and to the final consumer. So it's like a hierarchy, and they are the base, because without them, there's nothing happening.
Yeah. That's amazing. Very well said. So, for anyone that's looking to go into sustainable fashion today, do you have any tips for them?
Sustainability is such a buzzword these days
It
that
is.
people don't really know that. Sustainability is not cheap. Also, it requires patience. So you have to have that at the back of your mind before you decide to go into it, be it whatever way it is. But also, one thing that has also helped us, because at some point, this didn't happen overnight. Because at some point, what we were doing to also, one trick we've done is to not discard the table waste. So that's where we now get the lower item, which we call the ready to wear. So once you walk in and you don't find the skirt in this print, you can find a shirt with a detail of this print on it. So that's the offcut from the. So we found ways to keep the numbers up. Yeah, that's one thing I know we've introduced that really helped us, because sometimes when you keep waiting for this, it doesn't come, but there's another way to. So you should find other ways to make sure there's a balance between everything you do. You cannot just depend on one particular thing for the lifespan of the business. No.
Yeah.
So I think with sustainability, that's also what you need to know, that you cannot rely on it 100%, but it's good for it to be at the forefront.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So what would you say your aspirations are for Emmy Kasbit?
Emmy Kasbit, for us at Emmy Kasbit, we want to be the brand that is putting African fashion on the global stage, and the brand that is, loved by all, to be honest. Yeah. And I think with what we're doing, we're slowly getting there, because we want to tell these stories that have been told before. We want to retell them, and retell them in our own way. So like I said earlier, each collection we put out, it's built on past events, be it historic events or culture. You were asking me of these pants earlier, and I was telling you. So cool. This was from Spring 21. So a little bit story on the collection. It was from the Civil War, and then we found a way to we came across like a few survivors from the war in the East, and we went to meet them, and then they directed us to the bunker where we were, we were greeted by one of the slave. I don't know what he was, but he told us the story of everything that happened, and then took us to the rooms where the slaves were kept, and they had used like stones to make markings on the wall, maybe of their name. I was here, so we captured them and then printed it into a fabric just to keep that story alive. It was a very emotional season for us, but these are stories that need to be told because the younger generation might not know what happened, but with this season, I feel like because we made like a full video. We even shot at the War Museum where you had like the armored tank, the model stood on top of there. We have like a whole visual. Yeah. So we want to tell these stories and keep them alive because these are things that were left for us by our forefathers. And we want to keep it moving and then pass it to the younger generation.
Amazing thing that you're doing there. Thank you so much, because in so doing that, hence bridging the gap, right? Like the passing down from the older generation to the younger generation. So, I mean, you've walked us through the history of Emmy Kasbit. You've walked us through some of the challenges that you faced. You've walked us through even how you've managed to incorporate the history of African fashion, the history of Africa into your fashion, and how that has even led to job creations. You've even talked about initiatives and what we can experience from Emmy Kasbit. So it's been such an amazing time with you. I just want to use this opportunity to say thank you so much for helping us here at Bridging the Gap to do what we do best in terms of helping to fill that knowledge gap for people that are interested in learning more about how to have a successful business. I think this Bridging the Gap is even beyond just fashion. So the average business owner can even learn, pointers from this. So this has been very, very encouraging and very engaging as well. Thank you for your contribution to the African fashion. So thank you so much, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Same here.
All right.
Yeah, my Kasbit is almost 10, so I'm almost there. I kept thinking about it. Yesterday, we were talking about it with Daniel, and he was like, what are we going to do? Like, I don't know yet. I need to think about it, right? Get into the moment because 2014 was like yesterday, and I feel like in 10 years, a lot has happened, A lot has happened. I've been denied opportunities. I've applied for a lot of things that I didn't get in. And I kept asking myself, is it that I'm not good enough? But then, I then made this decision that, let's just build from within and they will come to us. And I think with today, that's what's been happening. Because at some point, I said, we're no longer applying for any prizes, grants, or whatever it is. Let's just build with what we have and they will come. And I think today,
that's what's happening. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for your contributions to fashion. This has been amazing.
Yeah. We did it.
Thanks.